Hey, it's Marilla Manelli, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to show you how I took this orangey blonde hair and transformed it into a color melt formula from her natural color into a lighter shade of blonde, utilizing some hair painting along with a platinum card technique. But first I want you to hit that subscribe button and turn on all notifications so you don't miss a tutorial. Now let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so first things first, I'm going to build my house before I paint. So I'm actually removing a lot of these over-processed ends, and we decided that a long bob for her was the best length. So I'm just doing a rough dry cut using dry cutting shears, and then I'm going to mix up my formula. So I decided to use blue powder lightener from Kenra Professional, and I'm going to be mixing that up 1 to 2 with 20 volume developer. And I also decided, because she does have previously lightened hair but it's a little blorange, I'm going to be using some Olaplex into this formula. So normally I would go in with Beyond Bond in this scenario, but I wanted a power lifter, which is why I'm using the blue powder, because I want the maximum amount of lift and pow for my formula. But I do need a bond builder mixed into this, since she does have a little bit of fragile hair going on, so I want to make sure I take care of it. I went ahead and pre-sectioned my client into just 4 basic sections, so from the apex down behind the ear and straight down the center. I'm starting out in the back quadrant from the bottom, working my way up, and each of my sections that I'm going to be working with are going to be about 1 inch to 1.5 inches thick. And this is where I'm going to incorporate some hair painting. So you can see I'm doing lots of surface painting using my hands to blend that line of where her natural hair starts, and then saturating those mids and ends. So it's a combination of using my hands, the brush, and even a comb. And then I'm going to be flat wrapping each of my sections with foil. The most important part here is to make sure that you have tension, using your less dominant hand, pulling that hair straight on out. And that tension is going to allow for you to surface paint onto that top portion. So really where you start is kind of up to you. I wanted a nice transition from her natural hair into this blonde. And so you can see where her hair starts to have that line of demarcation, which is about 4 inches down. So I'm surface painting right in that area, because that's where I want that blend and transition. And then I'm saturating past that line of demarcation, more about 6 inches and below. And you can see I'm even adding more lightener onto those ends, because I want to make sure that those ends get as bright as possible. A couple questions that I usually get asked is, why would I hair paint on this dark of hair? So she's pretty much a natural level 1, and I already know her hair is going to lift to an orange hair color. I've done her hair many, many times, and I do know that I'm going to fight through that warmth. But I also know that I'm going to be using a natural ultra ash right onto the base area, so I'm not too concerned with controlling the orange. I just want to make sure that I have the best transition possible. So I'm using a hair painting technique, but incubating these sections with the foil, making this a platinum card. And you'll see the final result as we get towards the end. But right here in the front, once I get all of those back sections going on, right in the front section, I'm going in with a more diagonal back section, and you'll see that I start to really make sure to detail my application, especially along the hairline. So especially right here, you can see I even isolated these little baby hairs, and I just took my time and selected exactly where I want that blonding to be visible. So you don't have to take a big fat section like you did in the back. You can really take your time right here, and like I said, just kind of select those and make sure to saturate. I actually saturated up even a little higher right towards the face, making sure I'm getting a nice frame for my blonding. Some things you're gonna notice as I get towards the top is my subsections start to get a little bit more smaller. So instead of taking those 1.5 inches, I am going to be taking 1 to even 3/4 inch subsections, and then further splitting these sections in half, giving me more control, because that's ultimately what this is about for me, is giving me the maximum control as I start to apply, especially around the face. This is super, super important. The face is the first thing that your clients are going to see, so you need to make sure that your application is on point. So you can see I'm going pretty high up here and pretty much saturating pretty well as I get closer to the root towards that face. You can see here on this section how much previous lightening she's had done, and this is exactly why I decided to use the Olaplex into my blue powder lightener. I need that power lifter, and I needed that bond protection for her hair, pretty much giving her a treatment and lift all in one. My best advice when doing hair painting is use nice swift motions with your brush. Use lots of tension as you do your surface painting, and when you stroke up, be really light-handed. And then for those mids and ends, don't be afraid to push through that lightener, and then use your hands to blend on the top and even the underside of each of your sections. I usually finish off by applying more lightener where I want more saturation going on, and the foil is going to be your best friend when working with this dark of hair. Remember that foil is a heat conductor, and this is also going to keep your lightener nice and moist. It's not going to dry out. And one thing to note, that this salon actually was pretty cold when I was doing this application, so I was actually even more concerned, but I did use a little help of a lamp, which I normally don't use, but because the AC was on full blast this day and I needed to make sure that we got max lift out of her hair for the technique that I was using, the lamp was pretty much necessary in this scenario. So in total, this took me about 50 minutes to get her full application on with all of the foils. And then I popped her underneath the lamp, just isolating those sections more towards the front and just pretty much checking them as she was processing. I wanted to give her a max processing time of 50 minutes with this lightener, and I didn't have all of the lamps on. It was, again, just keeping those areas kind of warm. I wanted warmth around her. I didn't have it on full blast. Again, the AC was on, so wanted to make sure we got the best amount of lift. So once I felt like they were done processing, the cool part about this technique is you can just slide all of these foils off and then just let it dry out. That's the best thing you can do when doing this technique, is you do not need to rinse your lightener. There's a huge misconception out there. Just remember that lightener stops processing when it dries out. For her final formula, I'm going to be using 3 different Demi permanent colors. So for the first few inches, I'm going to be using 4 NUA at a 1:2 mixing ratio with 9 volume developer. And then for those mids, I'm going to be using 8 NUA at a 1:2 mixing ratio with 9 volume developer. And then I'm going to blend that right into 10A at a 1:2 mixing ratio with 9 volume developer. So essentially it's going to be a color melt from a level 4 into a level 8 and then into a level 10 for her ends. Before I applied her final toner, I made sure that her hair was 100% shampooed and dried, and this is just to make sure that I get maximum saturation. So we got a pretty good amount of lift going on here, and I'm starting again from that bottom and working my way up. So using the same sections that I did in the very beginning and using that as my application as well. So you can see that I'm taking that 4 NUA right onto that first 2 inches, and then where it's pretty orange on those mids, I'm using my 8 NUA. Now, after I was completely done, I did wish that I brought that 4 NUA a little further down, but nonetheless, it still came out gorgeous and beautiful, and she loved it, which is the most important thing. It's all about what our clients love. So for the front, I'm still taking that 4 NUA, blending it into the 8 NUA, and then on her very ends using 10A to just kind of blend it out. And that was probably my favorite formula, was the 8 NUA blending into the 10. Again, you'll see that at the very end once this is done processing. And then I just left this on for 20 minutes room temperature, and then rinsed, conditioned, and then did her final style. So here's the final result of my hair painting and platinum card technique, taking orange hair to blonde in one step using all camera color. So I really hoped you enjoyed this hair tutorial, and if you did, please give this video a thumbs up and make sure to subscribe and comment down below what your favorite part of this video was, and I'll be sure to respond. You can also find me on my other social media channels like Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, all under Morella Manelli, and you can find even more educational resources on my website at morellamanelli.com. Make sure to check out my other hair tutorials right here on this channel, and I hope to see you next time.